morning. My name is Maarten. I'm founder of Trendwolves. I'm definitely not a data expert, but I would like to share you something about the expertise we could build in working together with young people. I started with Trendwolves because I believe youth culture is a driving force behind change, and they always think differently in an opposite way. And there are a lot of elements in their behavior that is fundamental to think differently and look into the future. So basically, we're a trend agency. We do a lot of research. We focus on 12 big cities globally, where we have volunteers where we work together to gather insights on patterns and changements into youth behavior. So in fact, we study a lot the underlying values, and it starts there. You know, we strongly believe that we need these insights, that we need to focus on the beliefs, the values, the assumptions of young people. And to dive deep in it to understand really what they're talking about and what's on their minds. Is what we understood in working all these years with young people, that it all starts with knowing the cultural values, of course, of communities. And we built some models like the elements of youth culture, where we could define in a good way the elements of youth culture, like skills and music and happiness, things that are important in youth culture, and to layer them into communities. So you have like this better understanding of these communities and grow, and like this you can identify communities much stronger. Just to explain what kind of things we do together with young people, because in the previous presentation it was about fun and about the makers movement, for example. I would like to share you one of the communities we just built. We built already for 5 years. And when you get involved with this young people, all the ideas you get from them, the drive, that motivation, it really brings you in a kind of position just to create new ideas, new concepts, and to reinvent things, and to look into the future. And where we work on ideation, how can, let's say, the old and the new world come together. One of the things we did, for example, for a client of us, which was Hello Bank, the digital bank of BNP in Belgium, was creating a tale together with all these young persons, all these young makers. We just reinvented, let's say, a retail experience, and it was just fun. It was just an idea. It was just connecting the dots, building on the, let's say, the beliefs they had. And I will show you what we made. We wanted to create a kind of, experience, and to give an experience to the visitor of the retail store that gave the same effect like you would have online, but in an offline setting. So we brought everybody together, coders, designers, all these young makers, just to rebuild and to work on it. So this was the kind of experiences we could build. It started like this, and we went really deep into a kind of phygital experience where both, let's say, both worlds were coming together, like offline and online. And we could create a very great, let's say, experience around it. Okay, but when we talk about youngsters, we like to use images of popular culture just to explain the difference in youth culture, because everybody thinks that youngsters are just, it's not one size fits all. There are a lot of differences in youth culture, of course, and everybody knows him, he's a bit like a symbol of Generation Y. Harry Potter, he was a dreamer, had to be discovered, like Wally, symbol of that period as well. But it's completely different with Katniss Everdeen, for example, a symbol of the millennials. She had to survive, she had to fight, she's a woman. So, it's like a completely other image that is another person that is behind it. And there are actually a lot of differences in approaching young people in the right way, and to involve and how to involve them in research and campaigns and the things you do. Of course, the internet had a big impact on youth culture as well, and especially when you layer that on the periods. If you look, for example, at Gen Y, what happened with technology in that, what was invented in that period, it was, let's say, if you then look at the millennials, what happened in that period, it's explosive, of course. So they had to deal with it as well. So you have a lot of differences in between both generations. And it's very important to understand the differences very good, if you want to work with them, if you want to, target them, if you want to create campaigns, or, you want to build trust. What is very important, one of the big differences, for example, is that generations that make stuff while millennials share stuff. They're completely different in how they approach such kind of things. So basically, we work on a lot of trends, and then we translate them, and we try to use them in our approaches and the things we do. One of the things, I have a movie here, but I will not, I think the time is too short. When we had our previous research on youth culture on a very big scale, one of the things we recognized was that there was a big attitude difference amongst young people. When we were scraping the internet, for example, and talking with a lot of young people. So one of the things we saw, normally when you ask young people, how do you look to the future? Will your future will be okay? A lot of young people say, I will be, the world is fucked up, but I will be okay. But when we asked it again, we had the feeling that a lot of young people were saying, I guess I'm okay. They were not so sure anymore. They were not so sure about their future anymore. So, of course, a lot of things happened. You had a lot of crises, nature, financial, institutions, governments that didn't work anymore. So, you had like this big failure, and a lot of young people were extremely, they were doubting on their future. So what we started to notice as well was like such big adoration for the end of the world, like, things that going to end, like a kind of adoration for the apocalypse, the end of the world. And you saw it in a lot of movies, a lot of in popular culture, a lot of gaming, a lot of things that were like in popular culture popping up. And of course, you really had this this whole growing of the zombie culture. And if you look at it, let's say from sociologically, it's very interesting phenomena because, you know, the whole zombie culture, it's about, you know, destroying a world that is destroyed and like young people saying, you know, we will rebuild it. You know, it's like, you know, we will defend, we will restart the world, we will reboot the world, you know. And this, you know, this big adoration, you had like these zombie runs and, you know, this crazy things that were happening all over the world that are, you know, very, very present in youth culture. And of course, you know, young people, you know, with all things that happened, were very, you know, they didn't accept things anymore so easy. And of course, you know, one of the trends we described then very good was like, they're well informed, they're very critical, and very suspicious, you know, so they don't accept things, you know, like for granted. So I would like to end with the survey we did, and basically the idea was, could we make a kind of typology, a privacy typology, on how young people behave online? What do they know about privacy? What is their awareness, their knowledge? Do they change their behavior? And are they willing to negotiate about, you know, about everything about that? So at the end of 2015, we asked around 715 young Belgians how do they think and feel about their online privacy. We did this in cooperation with Hello Bank, because Hello Bank is a young bank that is really getting into beta culture, love to co-create and to, of course, want to gain trust of young people, you know, just to build things together. So they wanted to understand as well what's on the mind of young people concerning online privacy. So it's not that there are now typologies, because in the past there were a lot of typologies already. But we definitely wanted to, you know, you had a lot of typologies that only go on the concerns, you know, that are talking about the concerns, but not does it change their behavior. If they know a lot, if they know that their online privacy, for example, is a problem, or they're not aware about it, do they change their behavior? So we put that other X on it. And in fact, let's say that the results were not very surprising. You know, they were not very surprising. We clustered four types. You had the privacy priests, the fatalists, the apathetics, and the mainstream. And basically, if you look above, the group with the biggest concern and took the most actions were only 17% of that population. But in fact, you know, if you look at all the rest, all of them, the fatalists, the apathetics, and the mainstream, they were all in favor of negotiation. In fact, they were willing to release information of themselves in return of benefits. So the conclusions of the main conclusion, because it's a big report, but the main conclusions were that privacy concerns were very high in the general population, so 8 of 10 words about their online privacy, but that fatalism reigns. Despite these concerns, 9 in 10 are convinced that they personally can't do anything about it anyway. What is a very positive sign, I think, that the willingness to learn is great. That's, you know, 85% said that they would like to know more about how to protect their online data. So I think there's a big thing to do there. Either for a government, either for a brand, there's a lot of things to do about this. You know, I often say education is the new marketing. I think it's very important that if you really want to connect, it's like everybody, it's not that everybody understands everything. So you have, there's a big role to play there. And I think as well that privacy negotiation will become a hot topic with around 50% that is willing to trade personal info for benefits for businesses.
Thank you, Maarten.